Okay, looks like we are live, and welcome to another episode of Camera and Flask. We got the 2-up display today with myself, Jem Schofield of the C47, and my good friend Caleb Pike of DSLR Video Shooter. Caleb, how are you today?
Oh man, good. Back in the house. Very jank setup. Jim and I was running around trying to get this place put together. So we'll get this dialed in, but for now I've got, stuff gaff taped all over the place just out of frame. So typical.
I love it. I love it. Well, welcome everybody to the live stream. We're missing one. That's why you have 2 giant instead of 3 giant heads. Though Caleb's on the prime, so unless he got up and backed it away a little bit, there's only so much we can do. So I went
dangling off the tabletop.
Yeah.
So again, this is not permanent. Let's put it that way.
Good. Shazam said video and audio looks good, fellas. So I guess we. You sound a little loud, Caleb, but I think it's okay. When do I get a join button for the channel? I don't even know what a join button. What is a join button?
It's the
Caleb?
YouTube memberships.
How does that work?
So essentially, it's a way for people to join, and then they can. It's like a certain amount a month. You can set the amount, and they get perks. So that you can do like custom videos just for those members, live streams just for them. And they get badges and stuff like that. So
it's like the Patreon of YouTube or something like that?
It's pretty much them like, hey, let's just copy Patreon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Drake says, probably best comment of the month, filmmaking is 60% jank. I'll take that.
So true.
Beautiful.
Good.
Yeah. I mean, have you ever seen Shitty Rigs? That's amazing. Good. Well, let's just do a little bit of shout outs before we do our drinkage of the day. So shout outs to David, Joseph, 360 grad, Victor Bart, who is such a character at IBC when he creates his content, Shiznuts, Andres, Chris, Henrique, Rashad. We've got some Lab Rat Productions evening and some other characters, hopefully 1 or 2 new people. You are on the C47's YouTube channel. If you're looking at Caleb's face, you might be confused, but we do this every week. It's at 6 p.m. Eastern time, and we talk about equipment, we talk about the industry, we talk about craft, and we drink. And so speaking of drink, I think we're going to start with Caleb over here. And Caleb, what is it that you are drinking today?
So since I'm here at the house, we've got some scotch today. Don't get your hopes up because this is not your Jim's type of scotch. Do a little reveal here. See if the autofocus can take over. Hide my face. Sam's Club. So, so it's very cheap scotch. I've managed to work it down to a Caleb level. And the story with this is it is terrible, but it's not really that bad when you put it over ice. So I wouldn't drink this like I would sip on Enter Good Scotch here. I saw a review, and the way someone described it is like, it's better than no scotch, but not by much. So there you go. But I had to try it for myself. So the way I remedy this is you get some ice and you enjoy it cool, and just a little bit. Yeah, it's one of those. It's one of those, and it's not bad at all when you essentially, nullify it with some ice. I'm not an ice guy with this kind of thing, as Jem can tell you if you just started watching. I'm all about that neat life, but here we go. So this is me. What about you, good sir?
360 grad, we got fancy pants here now with Lightstream. So you didn't lose me. I just put our boy Caleb, the golden child, full screen. So I am breaking out one of my birthday presents. It was my birthday on and over the weekend. Can you hear me, Caleb? Oh, good. Okay, perfect. And so, oh, crap. Okay, I know what's one. Hold on a second. Caleb, hold on.
Brad, yeah, I hear you. And she's done.
The problem was I didn't add my microphone to your scene. So basically, they were just hearing you talking about stuff, and it's a beautiful thing. So we heard you talking about things, but you didn't hear my commentary.
Sure. So
And
Jen was making some snark remarks. So if you saw me, just kind of.
One of these days, I'm going to get this crap right. It's going to happen soon. Yeah, a lot of things happen. Shazam, what can I say? I'm not Shazam. Okay, so now we can hear Caleb. We can hear me. And here, it was my birthday on the weekend. So I have a brand new scotch that I've never had.
Ooh.
I do like Glenlivet. This is Glenlivet 14-year. And this is aged in cognac casks.
Wow, beautiful bottle.
Do you know what the difference between cognac and brandy is? I didn't know until 2 days ago.
Never had it.
So brandy is distilled wine. No, brandy is distilled wine.
Right.
Made into liquor. And then cognac is kind of like what champagne is to sparkling wine. It has to be made in the cognac region of France. So they age this brandy in cognac casks. And I have no idea what it's going to taste like, except for the fact that it's not going to be smoky and it's probably going to be sweet. Yeah, no, I know 360 grad. I got it. So here we go. Probably that we didn't hear Jem's blended whiskey shaming. Yes, I agree, Chris. It's probably better that you didn't hear that. So here we go. I'm drinking this neat, and it's a beautiful thing. And Caleb, I'd say it's a pleasure to be doing an episode with you, where we just kind of do this two-up. And by the way, Ben, I hope you're having fun in your glamping tent for your project in Africa. Let's cheers to everybody. And then if you don't mind giving us some shout-outs to what people are drinking to after this, Caleb, and then we'll get our IBC going. Let's go.
Right on.
Ah, that is delightful. Delightful. Very nice. Good to have you back, Caleb. Let's go.
Good to have you, man. Good to be sipping with you as well.
Yes.
So what do we got here? I'm not seeing a lot of drinks. Did I miss the drink talk?
Somebody's having white wine. Somebody almost forgot to tune in. Got to click the bell. Yeah, you got to tap the bell. What's going on?
And smash that like button.
Come on. Let's
Craft
do
lager.
it.
Okay. With Ghost Train.
Whoa. That sounds like it'll hurt on the other end.
Very nice. Very nice.
Very good.
Well, I'm glad this worked out. So I'm excited for this one. I love Ben. Don't get me wrong.
Why is Shiz not saying cheerio? Is he out? I don't know. There we go.
Cheerio.
Water for Victor. Victor doesn't need any alcohol.
Coffee, Swiss beer here. Devil's Backbone.
Vienna Lager. Whoa. That's
Bart getting all fancy pants on us.
Wow. All right. Sounds good.
I forgot to ask, is this your host week? My host week?
Well,
we're just hanging out. We're just having a good time.
No, I hosted last week, but this is part 2, so I can continue the hosting. I can get this conversation going because I think it's time to start talking about equipment 10 minutes in. What do you think?
Sounds good.
We had so many technical issues.
It was unbelievable.
So just to give you guys a little bit of Caleb's in his new setup and stuff, but every single time I imported his video into Lightstream, including forgetting to add audio to some of the different scenes, he was coming in at 320 by 180. So I'd scale him up and it just looked like garbage. So at the last moment, as sometimes we get lucky with, it seemed to work, and we'll just keep going here. Nigel, happy birthday. Wait, my children took 15 boxes of Kodachrome 25 I shot in Australia in 1990 and had it scanned for me. I haven't seen those images in nearly 30 years. Hell of a present, eh? That is a hell of a present. That is awesome.
Mega kid points.
Good. It's a beautiful thing. I'm happy that you're back in the cave, except for the fact that you probably feel claustrophobic now with that low ceiling above you. Is it
not
like
too
a
bad.
homecoming though?
Yeah, I still work here once a week,
How
and
you do?
I'm usually here in the mornings, so it's not bad. I'm looking
Okay.
forward to getting the like legit setup back though. So we have a
Yeah.
wider shot. I might get kind of weird to go real wide in here
Mm.
now that I don't have another person working in here, and I can kind of open it up. So who knows? Who knows?
I like it. Good.
Make it interesting.
By the way, I know we have to talk about this, but I have a Sony ECM88 microphone, which I was telling you about earlier on. And this microphone is really interesting because inside the top, there's two capsules. And the way it works is when they're put into this microphone, they basically have a noise canceling feature, the way they've designed it. So when you rub your fingers along the cable, you don't actually hear cable noise. So I bought one used on B&H, and then I now have, it took like a month to get the official connector from Sony because they're impossible to get, and it finally shipped. And now I'm going to solder, not for the first time in my life, but I don't do any soldering, so I have to talk to you about that when I do it. Maybe we'll Skype or something, and you can just give me a couple of tips. Okay.
Sounds great. Yeah.
Because you have a lot of experience doing that.
Yeah, love soldering. Got a little solder kit right over there.
Beautiful. Okay, good. So IBC 2019, there was a lot to talk about last week. Ridiculous amounts of things already announced. And then I just like new shooter, boom, new shooter, boom, new shooter, boom. I just kept getting hit. 78 videos they put up. And most of them are about new stuff. So I think we have some things to talk about.
Yeah,
let's get
so much to talk about.
Well, let's just get the camera crap out of the way. Okay, right. I mean, Zcam's coming out with their cameras in October. Their flagship cameras. So they said that they're going to start shipping those in October. So we're about a month out from there.
Quickly before you leave Zcam, did you see that they're adding interchangeable lens mounts and electronic ND filters?
Well, I didn't see the electronic ND filters. I saw the interchangeable lens mounts, which I thought was huge. What do you mean? Where are they going to put these electronic ND filters?
I don't know, or they're just like, all right, yep, we're doing it. So the E2S6 is fitted with a micro four thirds mount, compatible with speed boosters, and they're developing an electronic ND filter for their swappable mounts, so you won't need to use a matte box. Blah 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 blah. So I think they're honestly scratching and clawing to stay relevant with all this crazy stuff happening. Yeah, not that they're not relevant, but I think they're feeling it with like where things are going. All the big players are starting to get involved in this lower intermediate market. Yeah, and then Blackmagic's doing their thing. So I think Zcam's like, snap, let's go nuts here.
Don't even tell me that Kinfinity's not poopy in their pants a little bit, because
everyone's coming after their lunch.
I kind of feel like Zcam is at least holding on, like they're going for it, and Kinfinity they're like in the shadows now. It's a shame, but I think their ship has sailed. I mean, you released a 2495, 6K pocket camera that records in RAW, and things change quickly. So I think it's going to be a hard place for a company like that to hold on. Those Zcam, more power to them. If they can really get into that, let's brand ourselves and let's get some community going, kind of Aperture style, then maybe it could be pretty interesting. If they don't do that, then it's going to be hard for them to get.
Yeah, that's a whole episode in of itself, talking about how, like, what if Aperture didn't do what they did by like sending lights to, I hate this word, but influencers, and that whole thing of them embracing that market. What if they never did that? Do you think they'd be anywhere close to where they are now?
Not even close.
Like, even if you could argue that their Gen 1 through 3 projects or, products were bad, this kind of gave them the drum up, the build up to where they're like just murdering it with their tech. Well, anyway, just kind of a random thing.
I think it's relevant. We can speak about it for a couple of seconds. Two keys to their success. Number one, creating community, which of course was sending out product to influencers. And number two was creating content, right? And
True.
integral to both of those components was a little thing called TED Sim. And it can't be stressed more that you have somebody who is a filmmaker, who understands filmmaking, who had a company that clearly was listening to him and was listening to the feedback he was getting from the user base. Because it's not as if Ted is just designing everything that Aperture makes. He's taking all of this input. He's clearly, along with his team and the people over in China, they're looking at trends, they're looking at the industry, and they're carving out their own little piece of what this is all about. So I think there's a few components there, but clearly the concept of just sending stuff out, putting it in people's hands and supporting those influencers in that community does make a difference nowadays. They clearly spend money on trade show exhibits and things like that as well. And they're spending a lot of money on R&D to develop new products. I spoke with somebody today who may or may not have been with Aperture, meaning is with Aperture, and didn't know when the 300X was going to drop. And found out, just like all of us, that that light came out and was released. Knew about the light, but didn't know it was actually going to officially be announced at NAB. So there's things that are happening so quickly over there. But, they got little presents for us every single time. Every single time.
Every single time. Sweet. So that's that. Any other camera stuff? Obviously, we got the big two, the heavyweights, if you will. Mm-hmm. Any input there? Any rundown for us on?
Well, I did an episode this morning, a live stream about the C500 Mark II and the FX9, and I think that the interesting thing, and we started to talk about this last week before the FX9 was released, is Canon has announced and is releasing a camera that cannibalizes their higher end market. So they're saying this is the space we're going to be in right now. It doesn't mean that we won't see a C700 here or there, but they're saying this is our best camera ever. So, it's user interchangeable lens mount. It's 5.9K raw internal, compressed, but cinema raw light's pretty dang good. And autofocus, extendability with extension units and all of that kind of stuff. I really think that, and one day this camera will be $12,999. This camera is an amazing camera system. I think that they've really done something that's important for them as a company in this space. And as they continue to screw up all of their video capabilities in their mirrorless cameras, which they're doing incredibly well, they're at least making a great Cinema EOS camera here. And then the FX9 is kind of like more of like what you would expect from Canon. It's it's an evolution to the FS7 Mark II, giving it full frame. But really, the resolutions and codecs are the same, and they are adding a couple of key features which are a big deal. The first and probably biggest one for a lot of people in the corporate world is the autofocus capabilities. I think that that's pretty huge. Then full frame and a few other things. But it's Canon who has the electronic image stabilization built into the camera. It's not Sony, except for some weird Catalyst workflow. So I think that when you look at the Sony camera, I'm happy about it. I think it's an important camera. I think they'll do extremely well with it. It's $11,000 US. The Canon camera is $5,000 more, but then it depends on whether or not you want RAW out from the camera. Then you have to invest another $2,500 for Sony's extension unit.
Right.
So now you're at $13,500, and that price gap between the two camera systems starts to become a lot closer. I think we're talking about that a lot, and I think really the FX7 is in a similar price point as the C500 Mark II in some respects. So it really depends on how you build.
700?
What? Wait a second.
700?
Hold on. The Grumpy Penguin is back.
Oh my goodness.
Where is the Grumpy Penguin?
Shut the front door.
The Grumpy Penguin is here. I feel like maybe this show has a chance of being successful now.
Where have you been, dude?
What is happening? Oh, See how much impact you have? I mean, you're part of the core here. Very, very exciting times right now. Droid Media, I love tuning into $11,000 US. That's when you came in. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of someone who's ready to drop FX9 coin, knowing that the C500 is available. And at that level, like, yeah, if you're a working professional, it's pretty easy to make that leap. You know, if you're like a DP killing it, you know, and you're about to buy a new camera.
Here's the thing. I have a friend who owns an Alexa Mini and a Red, not a Monstro, but has a Red 6K camera system. And they're actually going to probably buy a C500 Mark II. PL mount. You look at it and, man, you know, we used to kind of joke that the C200 was an Alexa Mini, you know, like mini, you know, on the budget. But this C500 Mark II is clearly not an Arri Alexa. Let's not fool ourselves. But it really, with raw internal 5.9K full frame, it is a unique camera right now in the market, and I think it's pretty interesting. Cool.
Wow,
what about you?
Penguin bought a 130-year-old house. He says, "I've been busy." That would do it.
That's amazing.
Well, good to have you back.
Yeah.
Brother or sister, I can't remember if we defined what was up there. I think dude.
It doesn't matter. By the way,
Grumpy Penguin.
The other thing that's interesting is, you know, this S Cinetone on the FX9 is this Venice-y kind of look, and nobody's really talking about what the gamma curve is on that. So you might be using that, and you might be getting 10 stops of dynamic range, or you might be getting 13. So I think there's still a lot to learn about both of these cameras once they come to market. How good is the electronic image stabilization on the C500 Mark II and all that kind of stuff. But we clearly have some exciting cameras with full frame capabilities that are now coming to the market in this new price bracket. I would be really surprised, Caleb, if we don't see a full frame Blackmagic design camera by at least NAB in the Ursa Minute Pro size. Don't you think? Probably.
Yeah. No, that would be full frame. That'd be their first full frame. Where are they sourcing their sensors again? Sony, like everyone else?
I don't know.
Gotcha.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, that would be epic. It's about time, right, for them to come up with something fresh, right?
Yes.
Cut out some of the old stuff, and that would be a pretty nice lineup if they had like Ursa. Like maybe they bring back Ursa, no more Mini.
Yep.
Ursa 2 F for full frame.
You don't mean the Ursa. You don't mean the one that weighed like.
Yes, I mean that one.
Don't ever bring that back.
Nobody wants to talk about that.
Wait, when are we going to get the Scion full frame camera from AJA?
Oh, geez.
Come on, kid.
I have alerts for that camera. Part of me wants to buy that thing for like next to nothing. That and the LSGY 300 or
300 from JVC. I want one of those cameras.
Yeah, they're getting cheaper. They're getting cheaper slowly but surely.
Yeah.
So
all right, beautiful.
Next category.
I think we should talk audio, dude. It's big. This is a big deal right now. Let's just cut to the chase. It's called 32-bit float.
Yeah.
And I'm getting super excited. You don't know you want something. Well, you don't know you need something until it's there. And just, I'm going to cut. Yeah. So hold on one second. I'm going to talk about this just a little bit. So 32-bit float, we have some audio experts here, and I would say that the best way to kind of describe this is I'm not the one who's doing this, but it's kind of like raw for audio. So we have this headroom, and I always talk about this because I have experience with OpenEXR, which was 32-bit float for imagery, and OpenEXR was developed by ILM as a workflow for graphics files and things like that. And basically, OpenEXR allows you to say, okay, we're capturing so much information, but above kind of where the information sits for the viewable audience. So above the room, below the room, and then you bring what you need into the room. But for audio, 32-bit float is going to give us this capability of basically saving our butts in production, because as long as we're not going to a live feed, it doesn't really matter where that pot is and where its position is. You're going to be able to increase or decrease that level in post-production. And we're seeing more than one product being announced. So what did you see from the show, Caleb, that was exciting to you in terms of 32-bit float?
Well, I know there's, the H6, which kind of was like, ooh, we're the first that I can think of.
Yeah.
Especially in a reasonable price. And then the Mix Pre series, getting that. A ton of devices from Sound Devices, right?
Yep.
Their 833, is that what they're calling it?
Yes, the 833, which is kind of like the affordable Scorpio, right?
Right, and then a Scorpio, and then they've got their Mix Pre 3 series, which I was amazed they kept the price the same.
So let's talk about that. So you have the F6 from Zoom, which is going to be about $550.
Right.
And now we have the Mix Pre 3. It's $100 more, but it's a Sound Devices product. Pretty interesting.
It's night and day quality difference. Like the H6, from what I remember, felt like a Zoom.
I've heard good things about the F6 though. The F6 is supposed to be
right. Well, the H series, the Handycam series versus the F series is different, right? So the F series is like legit. They're in professionals' audio bags and all that. Yeah. So, but I mean, to go up to Sound Devices, get a rock solid, drive your truck over it housing with all their amazing faders and all that. Yeah, pretty sick. So, hats off. I thought they would have maybe thrown another $100 at the price tag, but
they didn't.
That's nice.
Great comment from Rimrock. 32-bit float. I can't wait to incorporate more shouting matches into my content! Exclamation point. It's great. I mean, think about it from a production standpoint. People can just go kind of crazy. And as long as you're recording people on individual channels, it'll be really freeing in post-production to be able to make adjustments to people's levels and bring them without increasing the noise floor to where they need to be. And that's a beautiful thing. So I'm excited about that. Let's talk about this Tentacle Sync Track E. Did you check that thing out, Caleb?
I barely looked at it, but no, I haven't really delved in.
So Tentacle is known for creating primarily audio-based timecode generators that are used for mirrorless cameras, DSLR, smaller camera systems. And apparently they have designed a 32-bit float option so that you can basically record with a little body pack to 32-bit float. And now I'm sure they're going to run into the same Zaxworks problems that Deity is running into with the patent here in this country, where you can't technically transmit a signal from a transmitter and also record to that device at the same time. The other markets in the world don't have that particular patent issue. So the Deity will actually come in two versions. It'll come in one version for the US and then one for Europe. So place your order for I didn't say this out loud. Whatever. You guys...
There's a beloved company that disappeared off the face of the internet because of that.
Huh?
Remember the company that disappeared off the face of the internet because of that patent?
No. No, which company was that? Oh, yeah. Oh, is that why JuiceLink?
I think so.
I like JuiceLink.
I love JuiceLink. And the guy
he was great. No, he was awesome. Yeah. The whole company, like what he was doing was really important for the industry because nobody had an inexpensive, quiet preamp solution for DSLR cameras. And he really...
shepherded. He was like a Gandalf, and we were all Frodos. Those of us who entered this whole DSLR revolution, who were like, oh, audio. And he was there. One of the few people. I don't know if Curtis Judd was doing videos back then. I'm talking like 2010.
I think Curtis was...
2009, 2010.
Curtis definitely created content around JuiceLink
Around then?
products.
Right, but like real
yeah.
early, like, all right, so you plug it in, and here's how to do, you know, what a dual channel, and like just he had a lot of great content. The guy that ran JuiceLink. So anyway, side note.
Robert. Yeah, film kit. Robert. Yep, great guy, really good guy. Many conversations with him, not just like online, but phone conversations. Really good guy. Beautiful. Well, I think we've got some stuff. You've never seen me so excited. I get pretty excited, Droy Media. What are you talking about? I'm an excited kind of human being. There's things that get me going here. And speaking of getting me going, Atem Mini, what? Come on. What is that all about? Caleb, did you check the Atem Mini up? Come on.
Oh, yeah. We talked about it on the phone. Very exciting.
Ridiculous.
I have a whole video idea related around that. I'm going to call it like YouTube Dream Desk, and that's going to be a part of it.
Do you know what it is? So can you tell people a little bit about what this Atem Mini is?
Well, Jem turned it on to me, and it's essentially a video switcher for $300 bucks-ish. Very small. 4 inputs, all HD.
Yes.
Switcher, keyer, and the other huge feature, I don't know if there's many options out there, much less at this price. All of those 4 inputs can be switched through and into a USB-C capture card that's built in.
Yes.
So you just plug it into your MacBook Pro, and boom, you can do live streams with 4 cameras.
And you can also extend the functionality of the device by using their professional software, where you can control it and customize it with additional features. It's 4 HDMI inputs, 1 HDMI out for a program out, essentially, and then also this USB-C connection, which can be basically your program out for your live streams. Joseph points out probably the one thing, at least at the moment, and I don't know if it can be changed, that is probably the downside, is there's no multi-view out for it. So if you are basically monitoring your cameras that are coming in, you're going to have to just switch to them. You could technically, I don't know. I think there's ways that you're going to be able to sort of get around that, where you can monitor what you're going to push live. But I would really love it if you plugged in 3 or 4 cameras, if you could see that 3 or 4 up display, and then you could just click on which camera you wanted to switch to, or even just see a 2 or 3 or 4 up display. So you're seeing a multicam being fed. But early days, under $300 US. And I think that for a lot of people, for me personally, what I'm excited about is the idea of being able to create educational content, grabbing these 2 C100 Mark I's that are not getting a lot of, love from me right now, and saying, let me hook those up as fixed cameras that I can switch to when I'm creating educational content. So that could be really exciting. So I'm pretty excited about this Atem Mini live switcher, which would be cool.
So yeah, Grumpy, that's what we're talking about. And lots of interesting comments about the whole people that have gone. And there's like, we could almost do a whole episode as like a tribute to those who have passed from the internet. Because there's a lot. And they're bringing them up here in the chat. So
I know.
So that's
Cowboy Studio's still here, and we lost Cinovate. Ridiculous.
I know. Oh, Cinovate. What was shoot? What's his name? Dennis. I love Dennis. I watched so many Dennis videos. I think they're still up. If you go to their website, they still sell something, but they're nothing from what they used to be. So sad. Yeah.
Talk to me about Raw, Caleb Pike. What do you think about some of these announcements about RAW support and expanded RAW support?
So as it stands, Blackmagic RAW exists. It's amazing. It's probably my preferred RAW. If we're just talking about how it works, Blackmagic RAW is incredible. Only works in DaVinci at this point, but it is open source. Apple ProRes RAW is now becoming available. I'm sorry, I take that back. Premiere is now just through this event supporting Blackmagic RAW. That's coming.
Right. And also Avid, but not
Avid.
Final Cut.
For some reason. And then you've got ProRes RAW. This is almost like cameras, right? Where every manufacturer has their highlight, their strong suit, but then they suck at the other things.
Yep.
You've got Apple ProRes RAW, which is in Final Cut. Not a lot of cameras supporting it. Actually, one camera, and then Atem as recorders. And then that's going to Avid, coming to Avid. So Avid now has like all the things.
Yes.
But no Premiere. And then no Blackmagic RAW and Final Cut.
Yes.
Which is awkward.
Avid Media Composer is going to support everything, meaning Blackmagic RAW and ProRes RAW.
Yeah.
It's a plugin for Blackmagic RAW, and I've heard that there's some major issues. There used to be a third-party solution, or is a third-party solution for using BMD RAW in Premiere Pro, but I've heard it's super, super slow. And apparently this plugin that's direct from Blackmagic is also really slow. And it's going to require Adobe and Blackmagic to kind of hang out together, get drunk, and then hopefully they can fix some things.
Yeah. And I wonder, do you think the reason that exists, this whole weird, awkward situation exists, is that both Premiere, Blackmagic, and Apple think Avid is a joke going forward? Or like, I mean, they're obviously still used a lot, but they're not a competitor necessarily.
Yeah, I don't personally think that those companies think that Avid's a joke. I just don't think that they even think about it as something other than the fact that it is the solution for episodic and feature-length film editing.
Right.
And it has its space in the market. Being able to support ProRes RAW and Blackmagic RAW because of these different monitor recorders, and by the way, Blackmagic just came out with new monitor recorders. So that's a big thing as well.
Oh, I missed that.
Huh?
Yeah. I missed that. Blackmagic?
Oh, yeah, you got to check it out. Doing Blackmagic RAW to their monitor recorders.
Oh, boy.
Very high nit. So they
got the nit?
Now it's getting ugly.
Oh, man.
It really brings me back to whether or not a lot of these issues have more to do with the relationships with Blackmagic and Atomos. I have no idea. I'm totally bummed that Blackmagic RAW is not going to be, at least for now, supported in Final Cut.
Yeah, absolutely. I would in a heartbeat.
Because think about how many people who shoot on the 4K and the 6K pocket cameras are probably cutting in Final Cut. I'm not saying all of them, but there's definitely a percentage of them. And, the fact that they have this amazing compressed RAW capability in the camera, and now they're forced to transcode in order to use that footage is really a bummer and not what we should be dealing with nowadays.
Yeah. And then Chris has got a good point. The reason I made my Avid comment is I'm one of those YouTube crowds. He says Avid really isn't on a lot of creative creator radars, never really marketed on YouTube. So that's a good point. I remember one of the things that like I felt weird about film school was I was like, oh, Final Cut, and then this guy that was giving the tour was like, no, we do everything in Avid. I was like, well, I'm a millennial, so forget this.
I'm going to start a YouTube channel.
Yeah. So anyway,
which you did
good point, Chris.
very successfully.
Anamorphic, Chris just mentioned. Anamorphic getting cheaper. Dude, real cheap. You see some of the lenses that are coming out?
Okay, so Sue-Ray, which is apparently the correct way to pronounce that company's name, at least per somebody who works at Sue-Ray.
Sure.
Dropped a bomb because they're getting into the lens business, and $700 US.
Absurd.
50 mil 1.33x anamorphic lens, not adapter.
Right.
X mount makes me very excited.
Very excited.
E3.
That's a perfect match.
And E mount, and then also MFT.
Right. The mirrorless trinity has been completed.
As long as the actual lens is not made out of recycled pop cans and bottles, plastic bottles, I think we have a fighting chance of seeing the beginning of a whole new anamorphic market.
Yeah. If anything, start some competition, right? Because those I'm just gonna say it, absolutely horrible SLR Magic adapters, were really the only option. Unless you wanted something the size of, you know, my head on screen right now, or bigger.
Right.
2 heads, 2 kilo heads. Those absurd, like using projector lenses and all this stuff. It's absurd. It's ridiculous. So yeah, $700 for a full prime. That's insanity. It's not 2x, but again, the price is great. So that's exciting. And wasn't there another one? I feel like there's another anamorphic something.
I think there is, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I can't remember. It's in my watch.
Can they make a? What you know more about anamorphic lenses than I do, but when you take a 1.33 and then you make the jump to a 2x anamorphic lens, does that mean that the lens has to be much bigger because of the lens elements, and that's why so many people go 1.33? I mean, I know part of it is also matching, right, a 16:9 aspect ratio and stuff like that, or is that not correct?
Yeah, it's got to be a little bigger. It depends on what you're shooting for, right? Like if you want to cover the S1H versus Super 35 versus, but like the Atem lenses aren't that big. I think.
You mean the Atlas? The Atlas ones?
I'm sorry, the Atlas lenses. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're really not that big, and they're touted as being able to cover a lot.
Are they 2x or are they 1.33? Do you know? Or something
2x.
else other than that?
They might have
2x.
1.33, but they have 2x, so they're real, you know, anamorphic. The 1.33, you're getting there, but you're not getting the full magic.
Wait, Victor says the Suray is a rear anamorphic. I don't think it is, because that's a full anamorphic lens with the lens element in the front. It's a full lens. I thought rear anamorphic was something you adapt an existing lens to have it. Do you know?
What I think what he's saying is it's like adding something on the back of the glass to squeeze it versus the front element being like curved glass.
But if you look at oh, okay, I got it. Because if you look at it online, it looks like the anamorphic element is in the front, but I might be wrong.
The lens has an anamorphic adapter for the back.
Right, but I'm wondering what this Suray is. Okay,
interesting. So at any rate, yeah, anamorphic's getting spicy on the budget end, which is exciting. Like real budget, like you know, I'm getting into making YouTube films budget.
Yes.
Not like Atlas, which was the budget option.
Yeah. Oh, so Victor says the anamorphic part is in the rear. Okay, well, we'll see how that all works out. If it's relatively sharp and we like the flares, then it will be a hit. If not, then it won't. The people speak.
Yeah.
So
that brings up the Zine CF lenses, the carbon fiber lightweight cinema primes. There's some other stuff out there. So lenses, yeah, exciting. I think there's some Cook something or other came up. So yeah, some lens stuff, which is always good to see.
What do you think about the let's just talk about the Tilta mod for the Blackmagic pocket camera?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Come on, get into that.
Some guy in Asia, whoever came up with that first mod, that crazy like send your camera to China and we'll like do it. And Tilta just like, let's just buy this guy out.
Yeah.
It's a complete copy of that. Like they didn't even try. It's almost like they just like emailed the guy, wrote him a check, and then he shipped his copy to them to go to the show.
It's amazing.
So that's cool. You know, it's kind of funky to me. It's cool that you can flip
how much it's going to be? Because you saw, you know, it's like a big mod. It's not just the screen that mods.
Yeah,
it's the side of the camera inputs, and then it's also.
Oh, you there? I just lost you, audio-wise. So, can you guys hear me and or gem? Because I see gem, but I don't hear gem. So that's what's kind of going on. While he figures that out, let's go ahead and keep talking here. So this mod, I think is pretty interesting. And the one thing, the whole side mod thing, I don't know. I feel like the whole SSD thing is kind of jank. I feel like using a CFast card or an external setup is way better. So those clamps that people have to keep the SSD on top of the camera, I would way prefer that over having that like NVMe drive on the back. So I don't know about that. And then when it comes to the covers, I think you should just take the cover off of the actual the side of the camera. So you can actually take a couple screws out, pop that whole thing off, and have no problems there. So it's interesting. And the flip up screen, I like the idea of being able to pull it up, but what do you guys think? Do you think it's kind of silly? Do you think people actually buy it? Because it looks like it's going to be kind of a hairy install. So yeah, Jim's going to keep sorting out some technical difficulties. Yeah. Oh, he's back. You there?
I am back.
There he is.
Batteries died. They said I had a lot of batteries on the transmitter, and the transmitter lied.
Well, while we're talking about batteries dying,
yeah,
Gem smooth as all get out rescued me from a battery change. You guys probably didn't even notice it. But I changed my battery, so thanks for that.
Yeah.
So in our final 12 minutes, do you want to hop into lighting, or do you want to cover something else here?
Yeah, I'm totally in. You want to lead that discussion? So because we have a lot to talk about, I think.
Oh geez, yeah, I'm pulling up my I'm just have like a billion tabs with all of the stuff from New Shooter. Do you want to start with aperture? Because that's the first couple of tabs I have here.
Yeah, why don't you start on that one?
So 2 prototypes from aperture: the 600D 800 watt HMI equivalent is available, or I mean not available. They talked about it and showed it off, and then the 300X bicolor light. So maybe we'll start with the 300X because it's a little more in line with what they've got. It's essentially a 300D that's bicolor, right?
Yes.
And then they've come up with a way that I don't think they've talked about in any interviews yet, but a way to do bicolor without the typical methods that are available today. Because a lot of companies have lights like this that are bicolor. But Aperture's trying to make sure that it's going to work perfectly with lensing your light with like the spotlight mount and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So yes, Victor was the first on YouTube with the 300X and the 600D. 300X is a really interesting fixture. I think it's what we had hoped for, maybe even for the 300D too, because
100%. Little interruption here. I told you, like, I was like, yep, they're doing a bicolor, and then they came out with just another bright daylight, and I was pretty disappointed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that when we talk about chip on board, single source, it's a very exciting fixture. It's far more exciting to me than the 600D because you know that one day we're going to have a bicolor 600D. So when it comes to regular production nowadays, I want RGB capabilities in lights for certain things that I'm doing. But when it comes to 90+% of the work that I do, I'm looking for that 2800 to 6500 Kelvin range for almost everything I'm doing. And it sounds like this is going to be a very interesting fixture, and it sounds like they've dealt with the output challenges that you have with a bicolor single source very interestingly. Somewhat similar, though of course not, to Arri developing their own formula, their own way of going about what they're doing in the orbiter. It looks like Aperture is doing a similar thing with their light. And they're giving you, I think what Ted said is full output is from about 4,400 Kelvin to about 6,000 Kelvin or somewhere in that range.
Close. 44 to 55.
55, okay.
That gives you the output of the original 300D.
Which was still pretty bright. I mean,
oh yeah.
Okay. And then you're getting the ability to get bicolor. Now, look, you look at a hive light and you go below a certain color temperature, your output starts decreasing considerably. You go above a certain color temperature and it decreases. And they're using, what, 5 different LED colors. So everybody's got their own formula. Everybody will have their own patents. Everybody will have their own way of approaching this. But I think that that's a really exciting fixture from them. And it looks like they're going to come out with the little lights, the little $89 or $80 lights soon, too. It looks like those are shipping.
Yeah.
Right?
And I'm excited for this because, like, the little guy. Yeah. So the 300, this 300DX or 300X is essentially a 300D Mark I.
Yeah.
That's sort of bicolor, and then 2 120Ds on either end, all built into one, which is cool.
I think it's cool as long as the price point comes out reasonable. How much is a 300D right now? Is
$1,100 bucks.
11. It's $10.99. So as long as they keep this fixture in the 12, exactly, $12.99 range, I think we're in a winner. If they get closer to $1,500, then people will think a little bit more about the investment. But I think it's exciting.
Yeah. And then I didn't read about the little stuff, but then the 600D, which is just a monstrous daylight beast.
Yep.
And I was talking to a buddy about this last night. I would love to see them do, like, just go balls to the walls and do a 1200D and then forget the battery powered. Because I feel like Aperture is really trying to hang on to the battery thing. Because that's that's what's cool, right? You're like, oh my goodness, it's so bright. And you could use it with batteries. But I'd love to see them go ham and just make something the size and weight of a M18.
Yep.
But just plug it into the wall.
Done.
Be insane. Forget the batteries. Because, like, guys at that level don't care. They all have generators. They're used to using generators.
Yeah, you got putt-putt, a 2K putt-putt.
Just tell them you can put, like, 6 of them or 2 of them on the same circuit, and they'll, like,
and I don't even think it needs to be a 1200. Like, the golden number is you've got to be able to plug it into a 10 amp circuit, right? That's like the goal, at least in this country. It's a lot easier over in Europe. So you get an 800 to, just under 1K,
900,
800 to 900 watt draw, and you just have to plug it in. That would be a great fixture.
Yeah.
But as it is, the 600 is at least from what I'm seeing, is going to give you a equivalent output to an 800 HMI. Now, if that's the case, then you couple that with the Spotlight, and you have the least expensive Jolico that exists in the industry right now.
Yeah.
You can Jolico a 400, but if you Jolico an 800, that's like a workhorse. Put the 26-degree lens on there, and I think you're good to go for just so much stuff. So I wouldn't be lugging batteries around for that 600, Caleb. For the 600.
No.
I plug that thing in.
Yeah, just plug it in the wall. I mean, obviously that's a preferred method, right?
Yes.
And I feel like the market for, like, being in the middle of the woods with the 600D is pretty small. Yeah. But I would just love to see them, like, I give them permission to not have to do the battery thing.
I totally give them permission.
Yeah.
We give you permission, Aperture.
Once you're getting up at that point where you're starting to dip into the low end of, like, the people that own M18s.
Yeah.
Then, like, just go for it. It's great.
Yeah. So 360 grad, a Jolico is basically you're taking essentially a source 4 element like the Spotlight from Aperture, and you are adapting a Joker bug, which is from K5600, and you're basically putting that Spotlight capability, that LECO, onto a very high output HMI. You can put it on a 400, 800, or 1600, and you get additional functionality out of that. So that's essentially what Aperture is starting to do with their Spotlight and being able to do that. Good question up here. Somebody just asked something. Oh, Tony, just saw the Arri Alexa Mini is about $75,000. What is the closest camera to that? But around sub 15,000 is the difference small. The difference is never small when it comes to ARRI. There's something about their latitude, which is how far you can push and pull that image if you under or overexpose it, which doesn't seem to be replicatable by most manufacturers. That may not be true with a Venice or a high-end Red camera, but without question, the closest camera that you're going to get in around that, we'll just say sub $20,000 range, is going to be at the moment probably the C500 Mark II. So that's what I think. Cool.
Real quick, Dead Eye Smiling asked us, it seems like Aperture is really only worth the uptick in price from other LED options if you're going to the full Aperture ecosystem. Thoughts? I would say Aperture is the top of the low end right now. You can go to Falcon Eyes or all these other brands and get like essentially the same output, similar features for way less, or half to 3/4 of the amount. But Aperture will keep working from my experience. So I've owned multiple Aperture fixtures, and they all still work back to my C, what is it, the 120C. Even some of my old panels, those old gray panels from Aperture, they're still rocking it. And I've had several Chinese options where you work them hard enough and they start to like brands like Came TV and others, where they're good, they're cool, and they have lots of interesting features and they're cheaper, but you'll have stuff like after a certain amount of hours, like half of it starts to flicker or stuff like that.
Yep. Shiznuts, Godox and Yongnuo are coming, though. I wouldn't be worried about them. I'd be looking out for Nanlite more than I'd be looking out for those two brands when it comes to continuous lighting. I think Nanlite's... Huh? Your audio's gone. Can you hear me? Caleb, no audio. Caleb's going to fix his audio. We lost that. We're learning here. These are the things that we do. What is the low of the high end then? It depends what type of fixture you're talking about, Larry. I would say that that's a hard question. Maybe the low of the high end or the mid range, because I don't know if there's a low of the high end. The mid range is really where you start to get into light panels. I think that's pretty interesting. I think that's sort of your crossover. Though, interestingly enough, with the Astralight, you're looking at something that dips into the high end of the low end market, and then they sort of fit that mid range. And then I would say that we have this new Titan X2 from Rotolight, and I would say that they're definitely going after that mid range of the market as well, and it'll be interesting to see where they go. Do you guys use ceiling rail track systems for lights? I primarily have used 1-inch pipe in the past for that kind of stuff. Are you back, Caleb? Can we hear you? I can't hear your audio. No audio, Caleb. I don't know why. So let's just see if I add Caleb again for his audio, if he comes back to life. I have lots of options here in this thing. Let's see where he is. Caleb? Can we hear you? I got no levels for you, brother. So when you come back, I'll switch over to no levels. I'm just letting him know. So Forza, that's a racing game on Xbox. Yeah, exactly. So there you go. Lots of things happening here in terms of stuff. Westcott had such a small booth. Yeah, I mean, Westcott is making really great products. They have a huge ecosystem with their flex lights. They're clearly, kind of the company that is really focusing on that particular form factor. And remember that they cross over a lot. So they're in video production, filmmaking, and they're also in the stills world. And those things are being used in all of those applications. I mean, there's not a lot of competition, huge competition when it comes to, there he is, Caleb. You're back.
I'm leaving Road, episode 2.
Oh,
inbound.
Stop it.
All right, guys, I'm back.
Yeah.
Continue.
No, I was just saying that the flex lights really have their, their niche in terms of where they are in the market. There are other lights that compete with that, of course, from different brands. Light Gear being one of them, but also kind of making different form factors and not necessarily different applications, but they have a different market, and we'll have to see how that all progresses. But I still use flex lights all of the time, and I think they've made a lot of advancements in what they're doing. I also love that they have a lifetime warranty. So, we were talking about reliability. Sometimes you pay a little bit more. You also have to realize as companies grow, they have more R&D costs. They have, more employees to pay. They have to have sales reps and all of these things. And that does creep a little bit. I'm pretty impressed with how well Aperture has managed that as a company in terms of keeping their price points. But I think that all of these companies will react. You can see light panels doing it, and their fixtures are going for less money now than they used to. I think we'll see that trend continue with other manufacturers. I would be surprised if we don't see companies like Westcott becoming even more competitive in the market as time goes on. These companies are not stupid. They understand that they have a big investment into something, and even if they have a market, they need to continue to react to what's going on in the industry. I know a lot of these companies. I know how smart these companies are, and while many of them will have missteps here or there, they do know kind of what it takes to to survive and hopefully compete in this industry. Why I'm leaving Rode Part 2. Love that wireless Go. It's awesome.
That's great. I was using the Rode Link here, and it just decided to fart all over my life. So
ridiculous. Set up a fly gallery? Okay, Chris, this is getting ridiculous. I found the fly. It was on the ground. It's all gone. There's nothing scary in here. It's a beautiful place. And I'm still,
place.
I do live. I know this. Why not? By the way, it's supposed to be blue, but clearly because of the way sensors work on these cameras, it cannot be.
By the way, quick random side note: my S1 on my latest video, the blue channel, blue RGBs go psycho.
You're talking about for the Lumis?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
GH5 totally fine. GH5S totally fine. S1 went Canon on me.
Wait, so S1 was your A camera, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Bonkers. And then you cut to the B. Like when you put the bracelet on, I was like, what is going on with this? It was crazy. It was it was amazing.
Hated that thing. Anyway.
Oh my goodness. Amazing stuff. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. There we go. Another
questions, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
As we wrap this beast up. Someday we're going to get an episode where it all works. No one runs out of batteries. I'll stop being a juvenile using my FW50 camera.
You know what happened to me today? I was running my C200. I was like, everything's fine. Why is that light blinking? I think it's tally light. No, I didn't actually have the camera plugged in, so I was running off of battery, and the battery died.
Fun.
So it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
What can you say?
Yep.
All right. Ben's coming back. We'll be 3 up next week with the Camera and Flask logo. Caleb, it's always a pleasure. Everybody, it's a pleasure to have you here every single week. Please let us know what content you want. We're thinking about a challenge next week. Is that true?
Yeah, we haven't done one in a while. And we need to figure out how to get all these beautiful people involved. So we need to work something out there. But maybe we can think of something this or next week. What do you guys think? We share it with you. Can you create some kits on B&H or something?
Yep.
And then we'd love to check out some of your kits. So we'll have to figure that out. Create a wish list, make it shareable or public.
Yeah, always go to the c47.com/contact, and you can submit your wish list. Just send a PDF or something like that, and I can load it up here in Lightstream, and we can take a look at your lists, which would be cool. Clay says, how does Jem hear Caleb and not have Caleb coming through his mic? I don't, Clay. I just text him through Lightstream, and I see his picture and basically switch over to the single camera for me, and then hopefully it's not so painful. But it's been painful. This show hasn't
like
been
how
too
are you
bad.
hearing me right now? You don't have headphones on.
Oh, I'm just playing through the speakers, but I'm not creating a feedback loop because I'm not.
Wow. Magic.
It just works, you know.
You just
it's
haven't
the
turned down
bond.
enough.
I don't know. Maybe it's because
Make
we
it
turned down.
loud?
And I usually
There it goes.
I turn you way down. So I can still hear you because I do have I have super smell and relatively good hearing. All the rest of me is breaking apart, and I've got the posture of an 85-year-old man, but that's a whole other thing. DVX 100 challenge. Where do I mail the mini DV tape? What would be really great is if you send me the mini DV tape, Chris. I'll actually play it back in my DVX 100, which would be even better. That would be awesome. Shopping challenge. People are down for that.
Bart.
Yeah.
Bad
Beautiful.
karma.
Okay. I think we got to go. I hear the pitter patter now that you're back in the house of little feet. And I think we gotta get this thing wrapped up. It has been a pleasure doing episode 51 with all of you people.
50, we missed the big 50 anniversary.
Oh no, 51 is for my Gearbox. We did not. We're like episode 42 here.
I was gonna say, what the heck?
No, I'm
do something for the 50th.
Part. Yeah, that's good. Gotcha. Can I have a 1-minute run through B&H? How cool would that be if we did like a shopping challenge and we got a bunch of people? Somebody asked, have they missed the first Camera and Flask meetup? Yes, technically you have. We did a very small one at NAB last year, but we're planning on, well, as far as I know, I'm already talking about being at NAB again. Caleb, you're going to be there.
Yep.
Don't forget that NAB is shifting back a day this year.
They're going back to the old ways?
Well, the show, no, I don't know if it's old ways. The show actually starts on Sunday, and it's Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, instead of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And it is apparently not starting until noon on Sunday. So it's a big shift. We'll still be there on Friday night at Lotus of Siam for sure. Hopefully Jess is coming this year as well.
Oh, nice.
And we also, I have to figure out what I'm going to do about my workshops, but I want to make sure that I have as much time with my friends on the floor and just hang out. So we've got to work it all out. I can't believe we're already talking about it, but it really is when you start to get towards the end of the year. Yep.
Sneaks up on you.
It really does. Mic check. Is this working? I don't know why you're saying that, Mike. David. Oh my God, David. Amazing.
I hear the buzzing of your fat fly. There,
no,
Jim.
that's a motorcycle in the background. Jem and Caleb, will you come to IBC next year? Victor, I would love Caleb and I.
That's a long butt flight, though.
Yeah, we're not really coffee shop type people. Not those coffee shops, but I think we would be fine with the drinking and the social aspect. The food is good there. I don't know, Caleb. Let's see what happens. It would be a great way to see Ben and meet up with some people like Victor. So let's see what happens. It's awesome. Okay, good. Let's wrap it up. Any final words, Mr. Caleb, before I switch over to the Camera and Flask logo and we wrap this thing up?
Keep your LEDs cool.
Yep.
Keep your mics close.
Mm-hmm.
Godspeed and good night.
It's been a pleasure, everybody. Cheers to you, our audience, for coming every week and for being there with us and chatting. We love it. It's a highlight of the week. I don't know why I'm drinking every week on a Wednesday at 3 o'clock. I know why. Camera and Flask. So thank you very much, everybody. And we're switching over to the logo. And then as soon as that shows up on YouTube, this thing will cut out. I think I'm starting to figure this thing out. And with that Atem Mini, it's going to be even more exciting. Thank you very much, everybody. See you soon.
Good night, everybody.